welcome to the deep dive. We're jumping right in today with something I bet everyone listening has felt you know exactly what you should do, but, well, actually doing it. That's another story.
It's that gap, isn't it, between knowing and acting?
Sure.
It's a really common human experience.
Totally. Feels like our brain gets the memo, but the action department maybe didn't.
Something like that. And that's what we're unpacking today.
Exactly. We've been digging into I Know What to Do, So Why Don't I Do It by Nick Hall. This isn't just, vague advice. It gets into the psychology, the real reasons we get stuck.
Right. And crucially, it offers practical ways to actually start moving.
Yes. That's our mission here. Pull out the absolute best, most actionable stuff from this book for you, our listener, to finally close that knowing-doing gap.
Oh.
Okay, so where does this disconnect even start? How do we understand it?
Well, a really good starting point is how our minds actually hook onto goals. It's interesting. The book argues it's not the goal itself, like the words on paper. It's the mental image we create around that goal. That's what really drives us.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. It's not just lose weight. It's picturing yourself feeling healthier, fitting into those clothes, having more energy.
Precisely, that vivid image. And where do those images come from?
Good question.
The source suggests they're cooked up from a mix of things, our core beliefs, our values, definitely our past experiences, good and bad.
Right. The stuff that makes us, well, us, seems pretty fundamental.
It is. And here's a key point the book makes. You can't just reach in and directly edit those beliefs or values like changing a file on your computer.
Huh, if only. Okay, so if those ingredients are kind of fixed, are we stuck? How do we influence the image then?
But there is something you have total control over, your focus.
Focus, okay.
Where you choose to direct your attention mentally. And this is huge because what you consistently focus on, it actively shapes and reshapes that mental image. It reinforces the beliefs that go with it.
So like a spotlight, whatever I shine it on gets bigger.
Exactly like a spotlight. You shine it on the fear, the image gets scarier. You shine it on a small step you took, a little win, that part of the image gets brighter, feels more possible.
And that image, fueled by focus, that's what pushes us to act or not act.
Precisely. That mental picture, constantly tweaked by your focus, dictates whether you move towards the goal, stay put, or actively avoid it. The power is in consciously aiming that spotlight.
Okay. Conceptually, that clicks. But practically, how do we use this focus thing day to day?
One really practical tool the book offers is setting mini goals.
Maybe goals. Okay, smaller steps.
Yeah. The idea is to shift your focus off the huge, maybe intimidating final goal.
Which can feel miles away.
Right. And instead focus on these smaller, achievable wins you can get today or this week. You're focusing on achieving something small, not avoiding failure on the big thing.
I like that. It feels less daunting. Like climbing a staircase instead of staring up at a skyscraper. Got an example?
Sure. The book uses losing, say, 20 pounds. That's the big goal. Feels tough. A mini goal could be, today, I'm going to exercise for 20 minutes. Simple, doable.
Right.
And each time you hit that mini goal, you get a little hit of accomplishment that reinforces the positive mental image. Hey, I am someone who exercises. I am moving towards that bigger goal.
It builds evidence and momentum. Okay, so for everyone listening, think about a goal you're stuck on. What's one tiny, actionable mini goal you could set for, like right now? Just one small thing.
Another really interesting technique is called act as if.
Act as if.
Yeah.
Sounds theatrical.
It kind of is. You consciously behave the way you imagine your future self will behave after you've achieved the goal.
So fake it till you make it, but with more intention.
Sort of. The book even suggests writing a little scene, like a script. How does successfully stand? Talk. What's the vibe? Maybe even what music is playing in your head.
Wow, okay.
And then you actively try to embody that in your everyday life.
I can imagine some people thinking, really? Does that actually work? What's the mechanism?
Well, according to the source, the cool thing is that acting differently can actually start to shift your physiology.
How to?
By embodying that posture, that confidence, you start aligning your physical state with that desired future state. It helps solidify the mental image and makes the actions feel more congruent.
So your body sort of informs your mind, hey, we're doing this now. That's proactive. What else? Any other tools for shifting focus when we're just feeling stuck?
Yes, and this one might seem a bit out of left field initially. Physical exercise.
Exercise. Always comes back to that, doesn't it?
It often does, even just a short burst, taking the stairs, a quick walk. The book explains this triggers the release of beta endorphin.
Right, the feel-good chemicals.
Exactly. And the source points out something fascinating. Endorphin literally means endogenous morphine.
Morphine, wow.
Yeah, morphine your body makes itself. So exercise is like a natural dose of pain relief. It can help mask that emotional discomfort, that feeling of being stuck, and make it easier to shift your focus.
That's powerful. So moving your body can literally help you move past a mental block.
And it links to something else we'll touch on this protein, interleukin-1. Exercise boosts it, and that helps fight inflammation and fatigue. Clearing physical hurdles helps clear mental ones.
Okay, another reason to get moving. So, listener, maybe right now, what's one tiny way you could move? Stand up, stretch, walk around the room. Could be enough to shift things.
Now, related to this, let's pivot slightly. We need the capacity to act, right? And that brings us to our physical foundation, sleep and immunity.
Absolutely. Hard to conquer the world or even your to-do list if you're running on empty or feeling sick.
Couldn't agree more. The book really hammers this home. Your day doesn't start when you wake up. It starts the night before with your sleep.
Okay, quality sleep.
Specifically, it talks about slow-wave sleep, deep sleep. That's when your body produces most of its growth hormone.
Growth hormone, isn't that mainly for kids?
We need it too. It's crucial for repairing tissues all over the body. And that includes your immune cells, lymphocytes, your defense force.
So skimping on sleep literally weakens your internal defenses.
Directly. Think of good sleep as building up your resources, your energy reserves for actually doing things.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What else helps build that foundation, immune system-wise?
Well, the book mentions that protein, interleukin-1, it does a bunch of things, regulates temperature, helps produce other immune stuff like interferon, activates disease-fighting cells.
Busy protein.
Very. And it's key for muscle repair and keeping the immune system generally robust. And guess what boosts its production?
Let me guess. Exercise?
Bingo, exercise again. That dual benefit helps focus, boosts immunity at a cellular level.
Fantastic. It's all connected.
And there's another interesting point about immunity the book brings up. The idea of eating less.
Eating less, like dieting.
Not necessarily strict dieting. It refers to animal studies showing that consuming fewer calories often leads to longer life and stronger immune function.
That feels counterintuitive sometimes. Don't we need fuel?
We do, but the key seems to be mindful eating, specifically slowing down.
Slowing down while eating. Why?
It gives your body time for the satiety signals, the I'm full messages from your stomach to actually reach your brain. If you eat super fast, you can easily blow past fullness before your brain even gets the memo.
Guilty as charged sometimes.
Yeah.
So slower eating helps regulate intake naturally.
Right. A better portion control, potentially better immune function. It's about being more conscious. So for you listening, maybe think about 3 small health tweaks you could try today. Could be sleep, movement, eating pace, small things.
Okay, good practical takeaways there. Now, let's tackle that giant elephant in the room for so many people. I just don't have the time, or I'm just too tired.
Yes, the time and energy crunch. Very relatable.
Extremely. How does the book suggest we approach this?
It breaks down the new time feeling really helpfully. There are 2 parts. The actual clock time available, which, is often fixed.
24 hours in a day, right?
And then there's the number of tasks you're trying to cram into that time. And that part, that's controllable.
So it's less about the container time and more about what we're putting in it. Tasks.
Exactly. Focusing only on the lack of time makes you feel powerless. But shifting focus to the number of commitments you've piled up, that gives you back some agency.
So the solution is saying no more often. Being realistic about what fits.
Pretty much. It sounds simple, but it's hard. Deliberately limit the number of projects you take on. Be ruthless with prioritization.
Which, ironically, might make it feel like you have more time, even though the clock hasn't changed.
Precisely. And another tip, add a buffer. Whatever time you think a task will take, add about 20% extra.
Ooh, I like that. Build in wiggle room.
Yeah. It forces you to schedule less, realistically.
Right.
And if you finish early, hey, bonus time, unexpected free space.
Bonus time. That sounds way better than running behind schedule. Okay, what about energy, the too tired part?
Well, there's an interesting take on multitasking, not the crazy do 5 things at once kind.
You.
The book suggests having at least 2 very different types of projects on the go and switching between them strategically.
Different types. Why different?
The idea is recovery. Different mental tasks use different resources. So switching from something super analytical to something creative. or even physical.
Let's the first part of your brain rest while the other part works.
Exactly. One task acts as a kind of mental recovery for the other. You have your main thing, and then a backup task for when you hit a wall or need a break.
That's smart. So, listener, think about your main tasks. What could be a good opposite type of task to have ready as a backup?
And related to energy is timing. Matching tasks to your natural energy levels.
Right. Morning person, night owl stuff.
Yeah, but with a twist. Physical tasks. Usually best when energy is high. But creative work. The book suggests sometimes peak alertness can actually hinder creativity. You might be too distractible, too buzzy.
Whoa, okay, so my best ideas might not come after 3 cups of coffee.
Maybe not. Those slightly quieter, maybe lower energy periods could be better for deeper, more creative thinking. The tip is, list your main activities and note when and where you seem to do them best. Work with your natural rhythm.
Understanding your own cycles. And again, circling back, sleep is positioned as the start of the next day's energy.
Absolutely fundamental. Poor sleep, poor energy, poor action. The book lists common fatigue culprits too. Overwork, sure, but also things like iron deficiency, sleep apnea, depression, emotional loss, thyroid issues, recent illness, even a snoring partner.
That's a good checklist if fatigue is a constant battle. Worth looking into those potential underlying causes. And the circadian rhythm thing is wild, that we might naturally run on a 26-hour clock.
Yeah, many of us do, apparently. Which is why getting sunlight soon after waking is so important. It helps yank that internal clock back into sync with the 24-hour day.
So opening the blinds isn't just nice, it's biologically necessary for energy regulation.
Pretty much. And then there's a whole host of practical sleep tips.
Lay 'em on us.
Okay, quick rundown. Low-impact exercise, but earlier in the day. If you can't sleep after 20 minutes, get up, do something boring, then try again. Relaxation techniques, deep breathing, muscle relaxation. Warm milk maybe, but watch out for reflux. Carbs at dinner can help. Avoid spicy food late.
Okay, keep going.
Smoking disrupts sleep carbon monoxide, mucus. Caffeine, obviously, especially after 5 p.m. Watch out for hidden sources like cola. Avoid sleeping pills addictive. And nightcaps. Bad idea. They reduce sleep quality, wake you up, lower oxygen.
Wow, nightcaps are out. Good to know.
Yeah. Also, designate a worry time and place, not your bed or favorite chair. Turn the clock around so you're not watching it. Cool down your body before bedtime. Hot baths carefully. For older men, light exercise before bed might help with nighttime urination. And the big one, consistency. Same bedtime, same wake-up time as much as possible.
That's a comprehensive list.
Yeah.
Seriously crucial stuff if energy is your main barrier to action. It really feels like physiology is step 1.
Definitely a huge piece. Okay, now let's wade into emotions, how they impact our ability to act.
Oh boy. Emotions. The big drivers or the big roadblocks?
Often both. And the book starts by challenging that simple positive versus negative label. We stick on emotions.
How so?
It argues an emotion's impact isn't inherent. It depends on the context, the environment, how intensely we express it.
So anger isn't automatically bad. Fear isn't always negative.
Not necessarily. They can be signals, motivators in the right situation. Emotions are vital for our health balance, but trying to block the bad ones often blocks the good ones too. Leads to feeling numb or even depressed.
Can't selectively numb. Got it. So if we shouldn't block them, but they were stopping us from acting, what do we do?
First, notice how we avoid feeling them. The book lists common distractions.
Let me guess. Keeping crazy busy.
Yep. Too much TV, eating or drinking, oversleeping, intellectualizing, thinking about feelings instead of feeling them, focusing on everyone else's problems.
Compulsive shopping.
That's on the list too, the advice. Interrupt the pattern.
Oh.
Set aside just 5 or 10 minutes to consciously feel your feelings. Focus on the anger, sadness, fear, whatever it is. No judgment, no analysis right then. Just feel it. Big difference between thinking about sadness and actually feeling sad.
Okay, creating space to just experience it. Not suppress, not analyze, just be with it for a moment.
Exactly. And understand where they come from. Mental images triggered by something. Emotion is that fuzzy bit between the trigger and our response. So to manage the emotion, you work on the trigger, the problem, or your perception of it.
Trigger.image.emotion.
Yeah, right.
Response. Okay. And the responses, what are the basics?
Generally 2 directions. Approach things linked to positive feelings, avoid things linked to negative ones. This is guided partly by the prefrontal cortex. Left side pushes us forward, right side pulls back.
And people differ in which side is more active.
Yes. More right side activity often correlates with pessimism, withdrawal, maybe higher cortisol, weaker immune response. More left side activity, more optimism, resilience, often stronger immunity.
Fascinating brain link. So if you lean pessimistic, are you stuck?
Not necessarily. Mindfulness meditation is suggested as a way to cultivate more optimism. Gently focusing awareness, maybe even repetitive prayer, can shift that balance.
Okay, retraining the brain's tendency. Now, what about that really core belief? I don't believe I can. That feels like a huge stopper.
It's massive. The book pins this often on fear of failure, and it defines fear in a useful way. Fear is always about the future, something that hasn't happened yet.
Right. You're not afraid of the past failing, you're afraid of the future failing.
Exactly. And that fear of the unknown, of potential failure, often comes from feeling like you can't predict what will happen.
So uncertainty breeds fear. Makes sense. What's the antidote?
Knowledge and understanding. Learn everything you can about the change, the challenge, the goal. The more you know, the more predictable it feels, the less scary the unknown becomes.
Information reduces fear.
Okay. And this ties into being reality-driven versus belief-driven.
Explain those.
Belief-driven people fit information to what they already believe. Reality-driven people look at all the info, even if it challenges them, and adjust their views.
And reality-driven is better for overcoming fear.
Yes, because they build more accurate mental maps. Better predictions, less fear. The book suggests an exercise. Identify one of your own unjustified beliefs, and then an opinion you hold that's based firmly on data. Feel the difference.
Good self-check. Okay, shifting slightly again. Stress. We know it's bad, but how does it specifically stop us from doing things?
Well, chronic stress messes with our behavior, right? We might isolate ourselves, become intolerant, resentful, lash out.
Yeah, not exactly peak performance mode.
And those behaviors damage relationships. Damaged relationships mean less support, which makes taking action even harder. Vicious cycle.
Definitely. But the book's approach to dealing with stress is interesting.
A bit counterintuitive. It suggests building resilience by experiencing stress, but under controlled conditions. Predictable outcomes, sense of optimism.
Like stress inoculation, training for it.
Sort of. Gradually exposing your system makes it more adaptable, like building a muscle.
Okay. And what about anger, which often comes with stress?
There's a 3-question filter. 1, is this really worth getting angry about? 2, is my anger justified and proportionate? 3, will expressing it this way actually make things better?
If the answer's no to any of those,
chill out. Find a healthy distraction, read, walk, meditate. Or a physical outlet, sports, chopping wood, punching bag, screaming into a pillow.
yeah.
But careful not to let the physical act escalate the anger itself.
Right. And for people who struggle to express anger at all, maybe they learned it wasn't safe.
Yeah, the book offers pointers. It's okay not to be nice all the time. Indifference is often more damaging than honest but respectful anger. Be assertive, not aggressive focus on issues, not blame. Stop catastrophizing. Calm down first. Sometimes doing nothing is the right move. And own your actions.
Really helpful guidelines for healthier anger expression. Okay, let's hit another big limiting belief. I'll always be this way. Feels so final.
It does, and it's dangerous. It locks you into a victim mentality. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because if you believe it, you won't try to change.
So how do you fight that?
The advice is, always try to do something when feeling pressured, even if success seems unlikely. Just taking an action fights the victim feeling.
Even a small action.
Yes. Now, sometimes calculated inaction is the best strategy, but it needs to be a conscious choice, not born from feeling powerless.
Important distinction. And what about the flip side, trying to control too much?
Yeah, that can also lead to inaction. If you feel you need 100% control over everything before you start, you'll never start because you can't control everything.
So what can we always control?
Your attitude, your internal response, that's always 100% yours.
That's the key takeaway. Focus on what is in your control.
And the control pad exercise helps here. 3 columns. Full control, partial control, no control. List things related to your goals or happiness. It clarifies where your energy should go.
I like that visual.
And even for stuff in the no control column, remember, you still control your focus, your preparation, your response, and your attitude towards it.
Always something you can influence internally. Okay, nearly there.
Yeah.
Last big area. Perspective and communication. How does this help us act?
The book uses that finished files riddle, counting the Fs.
Yeah, where you miss the F and of because it sounds like a V.
Exactly. It shows how focus and expectation make us miss the obvious. The analogy is to emotions. When you're lost in an emotion, you can miss the cause, miss the solution.
Okay, so being too close to it blinds you.
Right. But translating that feeling into language, speaking it, writing it, forces you to slow down, organize the chaos.
How does that help?
It gives you extra sensory input, hearing your voice, seeing the words. That different perspective can suddenly reveal the cause or a way forward that was invisible when it was just swirling inside.
So talking or writing isn't just venting, it's a clarification tool.
A powerful one, which is why building a network, having trusted people to talk things through with, is so valuable. They offer perspectives you literally can't see from inside your own head.
Wow. Okay, that brings us full circle in a way. Understanding ourselves, our minds, our bodies, our emotions, this has been incredibly thorough.
It really covers a lot of ground, doesn't it? From those mental images and focus to sleep and immunity, managing time, energy, emotions, challenging those limiting beliefs.
And finally, seeing the power of perspective and just talking things out.
Yeah, it's all interconnected.
And hopefully by understanding these pieces, you, listening, feel more equipped. You have more tools now to start closing that gap between knowing what to do and, well, doing it.
Absolutely. So the final thought, the provocation perhaps, as you reflect on all this, which area really hit home for you? Where do you feel most stuck?
And building on that, what's just one small, concrete action you could take, maybe even today, based on something we discussed? One tiny step fueled by this understanding.
That's the invitation. Explore these ideas. Notice what happens when you shift your focus, when you change your perspective even slightly. See how it unlocks your ability to move forward.
From knowing to doing. Thanks for taking this deep dive with